Good afternoon, folks. Good afternoon, folks. It is Tuesday, November 5th, the 5th of November, Election Day in the United States. NFL Week 9 is over. Let's talk about it.
Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Stees! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue, think, and slate, dropping unrealistic magic. 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, LeBron to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals to fill the day.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the NFL Week 9 recap with your boy Nicky Stees. We're doing this, as always, on my channel and the Hardcore Sports Network channel. For anyone new, if you haven't done so, make sure to drop a like on the stream, whichever platform you're watching it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Now, before I get into this, give everyone a heads up. I might get an important phone call while I'm doing this. If I do, I'm going to have to step aside for a few minutes. That's only if I get the phone call. So keep that in mind, folks. In the meantime, let's get right into it. Today, well, it's not only Election Day in the United States, but it's also NFL trade deadline day, which means there have been several key trades that have already happened. And we're going to go through those first before we get into the games, recapping the games itself and going over the main stories from the week. Let's get into it. We're going to start with this one right here. Straight from the NFL, Browns trading pass rusher Za'Darius Smith to the Detroit Lions. Za'Darius Smith, as you see, interesting situation for him. He's going from the Browns to the Lions, which gives him a much better shot at glory, as the Lions are the perceived favorites in the NFC as of right now. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But for the Lions, they're doing it, number one, because they're trying to fill the gap with Aiden Hutchinson for the remainder of the season. And Za'Darius Smith, he's certainly in a better situation now with the Lions than he was with the Browns. And for the Browns, they're just shipping everyone for futures because they're a tanking team. They know they're not going to last much. They know they don't have anything really to work with. So they're just going to ship off all their pieces and let whatever happens. Get their guys and all that. But then so it's an extra piece for the Lions. For the Browns, they're just clearing some room. There isn't really anything notable. So that's one of the trades that's occurred so far. Another one, we got a few more trades that had notable trades that happened today. The other one came involving the Cincinnati Bengals. Share that with you guys in a moment. So the Cincinnati Bengals are receiving Bears running back Khalil Herbert for a 2025 7th-round pick. So Herbert, yes, now he was going from a situation where he wasn't really being utilized much with the Bears they weren't really relying on him much. It was mainly the DeAndre Swift show with the running game. Now, Khalil Herbert gets to go to a Cincinnati Bengals team. It's a struggling team that doesn't really have a run game, which is a nice pickup for them. At least add something to that ground attack that they don't have. So I think that's a nice move for Cincinnati Bengals. Now, how well will it work out? We'll see. But at least gives their offense a little more balance now instead of just heavily relying on the pass game. So that's good right there. Because that's what happened. You saw without Mixon, this Bengals offense, they didn't really have any run game going and they struggled. But now you got Khalil Herbert, you at least have a decent running back. It's a nice move. And also, the other main move that's happened thus far came from the Dallas Cowboys, involving them in which I'll share that with you guys in a second. Here we go. So the Panthers are trading wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 7th round pick to the Cowboys for a 4th rounder. So this pack just simply Jonathan Mingo and a 7th for a 4th rounder. Jonathan Mingo, I mean, it's interesting. He's going from a situation where he wasn't from not doing much to doing on a really bad team to a slightly less shitty team, I guess we'll say. But what does this really do to move the needle for the Cowboys? To me, it doesn't do anything to move the needle for them because you're in a situation where you lost your starting quarterback for a few weeks. You're already struggling. You don't really have a run game going. If anything, they should have been the ones trading, try to get Khalil Herbert to at least add something on the run attack, but instead they went for a wide receiver. Now, I get it. You're trying to bolster the passing game without Dak and try to give them something, but this isn't going to move the needle for the Cowboys offense at all. So I don't know what they're thinking here. But while we're on the subject of the Cowboys, let's switch gears now to the main subject that occurred with them. That being that Dak Prescott is out on IR. So he's going to miss a few weeks. I talked about this yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. We did talk about this a little bit at the end of the Eagles stream. Hold on. Wait, Cowboys Q. Yeah, so Dak Prescott, he's expected to miss a few weeks, which means he will be inactive for week 10 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And it'll be a repeat of 2022 when Cooper Rush stepped in for Prescott. Remember that game, the Sunday night games? It looks like it's going to be a repeat of that one here. But yeah, Dak Prescott, he's going to be out, though, for a few weeks. And this is the worst time. This all around, this has just been a cursed season for the Cowboys to begin with. We put our fan bias aside. Forget about the Eagles fan bias just for a minute. This has been bad news for them from the start. They started off 1-0 against the Browns, but then they were 3-2. But now they've lost 3 straight. They're at 3-5. They don't have much of a running game going. There's a lot of concerns about the long-term future of this team. Questions of, can this team bounce back? Where are they headed in the future? They don't have much of an offense. Dak hasn't looked as good this season before getting injured. It's looking like 2020 COVID year for the Cowboys, kind of, where they were 6-10. They won some games, but didn't really do anything spectacular. And now you're seeing the same thing happening here. And now with Dak Prescott out, it's just going to be a bigger uphill battle for the Cowboys, because people say, well, Cooper Rush had a few good games back in 2022, but that was when you still had a better all-around offense. Now you don't have that same offense that you had 2 years ago when Cooper Rush had to fill in that could help the Cowboys out for a few games. He's finished picking up what Dak's been left with. So just because Cooper Rush had a few decent games a few years back doesn't mean that it's really going to work out that well. You got to wonder, do the Cowboys even consider trying to start Trey Lance in this one over these coming games? Because I feel like Trey Lance, he's at least worthy of getting another opportunity. Maybe Cowboys do decide to go with Trey Lance in this one, but we'll have to see on that. But as of right now, it's not looking good for the Cowboys. The You're already at 3-5 hole. Now your starting quarterback, who's been struggling, is out. What do you really have to work with? There's not really much for them. So now you did pull off a trade to get Jonathan Mingo, but what does he do to move the needle for this team? I don't see it. And as we're talking, let's see, we got an update from Alexander. Alexander says Marshawn Lattimore traded to the Commanders. I'm going to check that out real quickly. Let's see. Sean Lattimore trade. See what the NFL's got on its page. And yep, here we go. We got the update. Give me one moment. Yep, Sean Lattimore has been traded to the Commanders. Now, they're just adding a depth piece to their defense. I mean, now it's the Saints who just fired their head coach and their season's pretty much all but over. Now they ship Marshawn Lattimore to a better team, which is good for him as a player because now he gets to go to a better team that's on the rise. He left, he started with the Saints that had a spark early, but now they're not really fulfilling. Yeah, but they're not really fulfilling on it now. But again, Marshawn Lattimore, let's see the trade deals. You got Marshawn Lattimore traded to Commanders. But hey, at least he gets good for the Commanders. Add an extra piece to that defense because they're a team that's already starting to move in the right direction. And now you add yourself some depth in the secondary, along with a star rookie quarterback, and things are this could be, this isn't going to solely move the needle, but it's just going to add a piece to a team that's already looking solid thus far. And the same thing with Detroit Lions going for Zadarius Smith. And that brings us to the question, after week 9, are the Lions and Commanders truly the best teams in the NFC? Or are they the teams off with the hottest starts? Because the Commanders and Lions are both looking strong. They're both at 7-2. They both were, Commanders swept the Giants for the season. And the Lions, they're off another win over the Packers. I mean, things are really looking good right now for these teams. Both teams, because these teams are, Commanders are trying to win the NFC East. Yeah, absolutely. They feel like this is your year to make a statement, turn things around. They don't have Dan Snyder to micromanage things anymore. Future's finally looking bright for the Washington Commanders here. You swept the Giants for the season. You're in first place by default. And let's not mention, even in that loss they had to the Detroit Lions, not to the Detroit Lions, even the loss to the Baltimore Ravens, they still put up a good fight. I mean, week 1, they lost to the Bucs, but that was their first game as a team. It took a minute to get going. Then once they got going past week 1, you started slowly seeing the Commanders morph into a top team in the NFC. And the Detroit Lions, hey, they were the second best team in the conference last year. They went up against, they went through to the conference championship, lost to the 49ers. But now this year, they're looking like by default the best team in the NFC to me because they've been there before. They've been at the top of the NFC. They were there last year. They came close to a Super Bowl berth. So I feel like by default, they're the better team out of the two at the moment because they have more experience by a season of being a top team in the conference. And the Commanders, they're starting to catch ground now. But I do feel at the moment the Detroit Lions are the top team in the NFC because they got the perfect blend of run and pass where you got Montgomery and Gibbs to run the ball. And then that makes Jared Goff's job a lot easier. You still got Amon-Ra St. Brown for him to throw the ball to. You have then that's what happens when you change the culture. You build a better you get a better coach. You get a coach that the players will show up to play for. Then everyone will start to play up their ability. You'll see the locker room morale went up, and here we are now. The Detroit Lions are playing them the best football right now in the NFL. And the same with the Commanders. The culture changed. You get Dan Snyder out of there. They moved on from Ron Rivera, who was past his expiration date as a coach, and they switched things up. That's what happens. Take note from the Detroit Lions and Washington Commanders. When you switch the culture up, it can change your franchise. And that's where it starts, all the way at the top. You can try to make all these big trades like the Cleveland Browns or try to trade like Commanders used to do with Dan Snyder, but you had to change. Real change had to come at the top. But I did mention the Baltimore. I did, but now let's talk about the team. Let's talk about the team that the Commanders just picked up Lattimore from, the New Orleans Saints, for a minute. You guys already know by now, the New Orleans Saints dismissed head coach Dennis Allen after their 7th straight loss, after starting off the season 2-0, beating the Carolina Panthers the first time by a blowout, but then beating the Cowboys by a blowout, actually looking like they were starting to turn the corner. And then the 7 games since have followed, and we've forgotten all about that 2-0 start. And Dennis Allen, this was obviously overdue. I knew Saints fans weren't happy with him. We saw ever since he took over for the Saints, it hasn't been the same team. They were 26-53 with him as their head coach. They never, at best, they were competitive during his run. And we saw that because remember, let's go back to Sean Payton's final season. It was his first season without Drew Brees behind center. And this team still managed to win 9 games and narrowly missed the playoffs in spite of that. And also having a lot of key injuries, they still found a way to win 9 games. But then Payton retired for a season, and Dennis Allen took over. And it was just nothing. And the Saints team took a steep step downward to now where they're one of the bottom teams in the league at 2-7. But you know what? They had this coming. He was past his expiration date. They should have fired him after last season. You saw the writing on the wall after last year that he wasn't cut out in the long term. Most of us did, but the Saints decided to give him one more season. And now you see what happened. But then you also lost Chris Olave in that game against the Panthers as well. It's just been a disaster for the Saints. Now they're starting to, they're in a deep rebuild. I mean, it was fun for them. I'm sure their fans loved it while it lasted, but hey, you had them. But hey, all good things must come to an end. And the Saints, they're in rebuilding mode. They accepted it. But now, switching gears, we're going to talk about the shocker on Thursday Night Football. The Jets upsetting the Texans. The big story behind this was Garrett Wilson shined with 2 touchdowns and had another spectacular catch. I'll tell you, it's a shame Garrett Wilson isn't on a better team because, like Justin Jefferson, because at least with the Vikings, he's on a team that can at least win games and make the playoffs. In Garrett Wilson's case, he's a hell of a receiver, but not put in the best situation to succeed being a member of the New York Jets. But to give credit where credit's due, Garrett Wilson had himself a spectacular game. The Jets found a way to win. They snapped their losing streak. They do get a W. Devontae Adams had a touchdown, his first as a Jet. But at the same time, though, let's be honest. We saw the Houston Texans without Stephon Diggs take a step back. I wasn't expecting this because C.J. Stroud, remember, still led the Texans to the playoffs with not really much of a team last year. I was thinking maybe they'd still find a way to win behind C.J. Stroud, but he struggled against that Jets defense. Now, to be fair, the Jets still have a good defense. They have a lot of talent on that roster from front to top on the defensive side of the ball. But it was a struggle, though, for C.J. Stroud. He's only 11 for 30, and he really struggled to get going. Now, Mixon had a solid outing, but hey, the Jets defense rose the occasion. They managed to keep them from scoring more points, and that's ultimately what matters most in football. So, okay, good job there by the Jets. So, hey, shout out to the Jets for this week. They showed up and did what they had to. They had the benefit of playing a less than 100% Texans team, which is a benefit to them. But, hey, they stepped up and they found a way to win. So that's all that matters. So for now, the Jets get a win, but I still feel like the NFC South is still the Houston Texans division because that's a dumpster fire division. They should still find a way to at least win it. The Jets, they managed to get a win in this case, but we'll see where they go from here. They got the Cardinals next. We'll see how that pans out. But that's an interesting subject to talk about too. The NFC West. But moving right along, while we're still on the subject of the NFC South, let's briefly recap the Colts and Vikings. The Vikings win. They snap their 2-game losing streak. They go to 6-2. But it was a lackluster performance. Let's face it, they didn't get any points going in the first half. They gave up a touchdown on a fumble early. And then Darnold still had 2 picks on top of that. So overall, you had 3 turnovers by the Vikings offense. Now, fortunately for them, they have talented offense around Darnold, which was good enough in this contest. This was one of those games for the Vikings, though, where, yes, they won, but they won because of their talent, not because of their performance on the field. They got lucky they were playing a struggling Colts team. I feel like if they would have played a better team, they probably would have dropped their 3rd straight game. So I don't feel like this was a statement win by the Vikings. I feel like this was a lucky win where, hey, you're just lucky you won the game. Now, they did score 2 touchdowns to start the second half, but then there was this other pick. They gave up a field goal off of it, and they did manage a 4th down stop and a touchdown out of it. So Vikings did enough to win. And we got Vic Watt and pause. Mike Williams has been traded. It's going to be one of those streams, folks. It is NFL trade deadline day, so we're going to be getting a lot of news breaking as we're doing this stream, which is why I've been switching back and forth for subject to subject instead of following the consistent pattern of talk about the Thursday game, go to the Sunday one, then go to the other games. Let's see. It says that Mike Williams has been traded. I'm looking it up right now. I still haven't seen anything official yet. So Vic and Wick Watt, it's not official yet, so I'm not going to talk about it yet with all due respect, but I'll come back to it because I just looked it up. I haven't seen anything yet. We'll come back later and see if something's up about it. But so as of now, let's get back to the Vikings game. And if we get another trade line update, we'll go to that. But yeah, the Vikings, it was a win, but it was an ugly win against the Colts, especially after 2 straight losses. It's like, it feels more like a lucky win. Yes, 6-2 is better than 5-3, but still, it wasn't an impressive 6-2, and that leaves a lot of concerns about this team's long-term future. So they do get the win, but now let's switch to the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens bounced back from that upset loss to the Cleveland Browns as they toppled the Denver Broncos. Yeah, it's crazy going into this week. Some of us thought that maybe there was a chance there'd be an upset. Maybe. But it wasn't meant to be, as the Ravens just toppled the Broncos. Their offense completely dominated. Bo Nix looked like a rookie. I mean, Courtland Sutton looked like a better quarterback for a minute. And Bo Nix looked better suited as the wide receiver. It makes you wonder if they should switch positions, have Courtland Sutton play quarterback and Nix play wide receiver. Because that one trick play was the most notable play they had on offense. But on a serious note, though, yeah, Broncos, it's come apparent the Broncos were frauds. They were taking advantage of an easy schedule. They had to step up against the top team in the AFC, and they got pounced on. Pounced. And the main thing that came out of the game, King Henry conquers 100 career TD milestone. That's right. Derrick Henry got his 100th career touchdown in this game. So that's excellent for Derrick Henry, continuing to cement his case as a future Hall of Famer. And the Ravens resubmit themselves as top contenders, saying that, hey, last week against the Browns was a fluke. We're over it. We're still got Lamar Jackson. We still got Derrick Henry. We still got Zay Flowers. We got some guys on the offense side of the ball. We're going to continue rolling. We're playing for the purpose. So good job for the Ravens. And then the last main game we're going to talk about, Kansas City Chiefs remain undefeated, defending Super Bowl champions, dominate. And if you read the banner on the screen, looking like favorites to repeat and become second Super Bowl three-peat team in NFL history. The only other team to do that was the Steel Curtain team back in the 70s with Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, Franco Harrison, John Stallworth, and those guys. Then on the defensive side of the ball, you had Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert and company, Chuck Knowles, the head coach. That Steelers team, it's looking like Kansas City could be the first team to three-peat since then. And just no matter what, they find ways to win games. Travis Kelce balled out. DeAndre Hopkins returned to form with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. What I'm going to mainly say is it feels like we're seeing the New England Dynasty. Well, actually, we are seeing the New England Dynasty all over again with Kansas City. You got the elite quarterback that you can love him, you can hate him, but you got to respect him. He's that guy that you send a receiver who's kind of on the downswing in their career to Kansas City. They can have a brief career resurrection, similar to wide receivers playing for the New England Patriots. You had that one year, Jabbar Gaffrey, a journeyman wide receiver, had a nice outing for the Patriots. I mean, who else you had? Who else had a good outing with the Patriots? Randy Moss, when his career was looking on the downswing, had a career resurrection with the Pats. And now I could be seeing the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins having a career resurrection. I think Juju Smith-Schuster's still there. Wait, isn't he back there? We got Juju Smith-Schuster over in Kansas City. I mean, and he had, October 7th, he had 7 receptions for 130 yards. I mean, yeah, these guys, all of a sudden, you're putting these receivers in that situation with Patrick Mahomes, and they ball out. It's looking a lot like the Patriots all over again. But you know what? Kansas City is running them up. So let's see. I mean, and those are the main games to discuss right here. All right, we got some breaking news. Give me 1 minute, folks. We're going to get into it. I see, and it's been confirmed in the comments by Vic and Watt, and it is official now. It's on you look at the news, it's out there. It's been confirmed, and that news being confirmed in 1 moment. Vic, I do see your comment. It says, you can read it from the comments from Vic and Watt and on the screen. Pittsburgh's trading a 2025 fifth-round pick to the Jets for Mike Williams. And now the Steelers team, which is looking pretty good this year, gets another weapon to their dispense in Mike Williams. I mean, now the Steelers, man, that's a good deal for the Steelers. You're already balling out, and you got Russell Wilson's taking over as a starter. He's looking better he looks like he's in a better situation than he was with the Broncos, and now they add another receiver to the mix. Things are looking good for the Steelers. I already had a feeling the Steelers would be a better team with Russell Wilson anyway, because unlike with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and trying to kick the tires off Mason Rudolph for a bit, in the case of Russell Wilson, he at least has Super Bowl winning experience. He has 2 Super Bowl starts under his belt, multiple Pro Bowls. He could come into a Steelers team that was really just missing a quarterback and be better off than he was in his previous situation. But now you're adding Mike Williams, another weapon to the offense who can help bolster them a little bit. Things are looking up for the Steelers. It's a nice move for the Steelers. And we'll see how Mike Williams fares in that offense. But that's our other big trade we got going on. Before we go, I mean, right now we don't have any other trades at the moment. We talked about all the main games we're going to, but I will do my brief 2-minute recap, which I always do at the end of my live streams every week. And maybe, who knows, maybe we get another trade news gets dropped, and we'll have something else to talk about after the 2-minute recap. But let's do the 2-minute recap. And we'll go from there. Start this 2-minute recap. Let's do it. So 2-minute recap. Let's go. We're going to start off. We're going to discuss. First off, we got the Cincinnati Bengals found a way to win against the Las Vegas Raiders. If it's good for the Bengals, they're lucky they were playing the Raiders. They at least got to look good, impressive. But also, the Raiders. This is saying more about the Raiders, though, than it is the Bengals, because the Raiders could have no quarterback, nothing really going. Gotta wonder if Antonio Pierce will last. The Titans find a way to beat the Patriots in overtime. The best thing from this game was Drake May holding on to throw the game-tying touchdown at the end of regulation, which was a nice play and one for the highlight reel plays. But he did throw the game-sealing interception after the Titans marched down the field and kicked the field goal So it was an all for nothing play by the end of the game. I mean, Titans win the game, but the Patriots win the tank. And then, like I said, you got the Buffalo Bills. Interesting. The Buffalo Bills. They're 7-2, but this feels like a repeat of past seasons. And with the Dolphins, Tua's back. They look competitive, but you got to wonder, what is Mike McDaniel's future with them? How much longer are they going to stick with Mike McDaniel? That's a tough question. We got to see what Dolphins are going to do. And but their season looks like mostly a lost cause, though. And then let's talk about the NFC West a little bit. Cardinals are in first place by default at 5-4. They do have a bit of an easier schedule from here. They do. And it works. We look, they got the Jets from here. That could go either way. Seahawks looks like an easy game. Vikings on the road. I don't know. Then you got the Seahawks at home. Patriots at home. That looks like you could win and go 4-2, possibly 3-3 in that stretch. That could still keep you in contention if you're the Cardinals. And the Niners are getting McCaffrey back. Maybe their offense finally finds that spark and they get back into contention. I think, though, at this point, and the Rams, now that they're healthy, they might actually have a shot here. So I feel like the Seahawks are the odd team out. Rams, Cardinals, 49ers look like the teams to watch in the NFC West. All right, but that's that right there. Let's take a look one more time at the NFL trade. Let's take a look at the trades one more time. See what's going. See if anything's happened right here. We just talked about it. I mean, we still got a few more hours, though, for the NFL trade. You know what I might do, though? Well, it is NFL trade deadline day. I might stay live for a little bit longer. What I'll do is I'll take a quick break. I'm going to put down the screen, put some non-copyright music in the background, take a few minute break, come back, and stay live for a little bit longer since it is trade deadline day. And be right back, folks. All right. I'm back, folks. Decided since it is NFL trade deadline day, I'm going to stick this live stream out a little bit longer. For anyone that would be coming into the stream, I already discussed the main details of this. And, I went through the games. We talked about some of the trades a little bit, but we're going to stay a little bit longer. So I'm just going to edit the title to this. I'm going to edit the title of this stream real quick. And then we'll keep it going from there. All right, never mind. All right, let's get this thing going. So yeah, it is the. So right now, let's see what's going on. We just had the Mike Williams trade go down a few minutes ago. Let's see. So Tuesday, 3 p.m. on Sports Center, which is today. Let's trade for wide receiver. So we said, Mike Williams was the latest trade that happened. And Lattimore did the Commanders. And let's see, we're also getting, let's take a look. Follow this along on ESPN. All right, so yeah, Schefter. We also got Schefter saying that he's probably not going to, that DK Metcalf likely won't get traded. But you're right, as of right now, though, we're getting closer to 4 p.m. We're not going to see as many trades. We might still get one or two trades, but most of the trades throughout the day, we talk about already happened. So most of them already happened. Like, the Mike Williams trade, the Lattimore trade to the Commanders, Darius Smith to the Lions. Most of those main trades have happened for the day. We discussed that already, but now we'll just see for a little bit, see if anything significant happens. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on some trades to happen, I'm just going to fool around and have some fun a little bit here. What I'm going to do is take a look at some of our fantasy sports and share the screen with you guys. So far, we got the Hardcore Sports Network's Basketball Fantasy League. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to share that with you guys real quickly. Let's take a look. So we're just killing some time. I got the Hardcore Sports Network Fantasy League. Let's take a look. I mean, there's no games today, so nobody's playing. So right now you got me, Mitch, and tied for first at 2-0. Mitch's Jewish Brownies. I still don't know who came up with that. 2-0. And then you got 1-1. Arku, Blazed Radio, 1-1. Chris Swell, 1-1. Connect the Dots. Got Rios, Pierce, Mello, 0-2. And I'm just killing some time here while we're Waiting on some news to come. But, well, we could do it. Let's just talk about some football stuff real quick. Let's take a look. Let's see. We're going to go to ESC. Is there any way I can track? See if ESPN has a tracker I can follow along while we're. All right, here we go. Give me 1 minute. We're going to track. Let's see. We get ESPN. We got a tracker here. That's the, Steelers trade. Let's see. Per Schefter, Seahawks won't trade Metcalf by 4 p.m. Name to watch is Lattimore. Commanders slated to have 9 picks in 2025 draft. Panthers up to 9 picks. We're active participants in trade discussions, but we always are. Yeah, whatever. Bills grant release for Mike Edwards. If Fowler. Bills grant release. Well, the Eagles trade at the deadline. Vic Fangio said he's not heard the Eagles being on any trade deadline. So, okay, from what we're hearing from Tim McManus, the Eagles are not going to be involved with anything throughout the trade deadline. Oh, sorry, just looking over, I hear a dog collar. That's probably my neighbor's dog coming over here. But, yeah, Eagles doesn't look like they're going to do anything this trade deadline. That's not good news. Titans have received inquiries in D-line. Cowboys with Mingo. Mingo was drafted ahead of Jaden Reed and Rashid Rice, so Panthers saw him as a viable player and better quarterback play coming in Dallas when Dak returned. Whatever. Yeah, there's nothing from that tweet. Let's see this one. Well, we already talked about this. Will the Jets be active today? Well, they did trade Mike Williams, so yes, they are active. Yeah, Zach Moss's injury, they traded for Khalil Herbert. Hopefully Khalil Herbert will pan out there for them. Well, hopefully, we talked about that already, but most of the stuff we've already talked about. And considering it is getting closer to 2 o'clock, there's probably not going to be much more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll see how the stream goes. We'll see if you guys are still interested. But if people start to tune out, we'll just call it early. And any other trades I don't get to, we can just record YouTube shorts on them. And I can upload them to my channel as short videos if anything comes out after this. So I think I'm going to call this stream here. Let's say thanks to everyone that tuned in. Thanks to Alexander, Vic Watt and Pause for trading, for breaking the news while we were active during the stream. So shout out to you guys for coming through. Shout out to everyone else that stopped by for the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, it's your boy Nicky Stees signing off. I'm going to give time everyone to get to the election polls. So peace. Catch you next.